Well, I think one of the most efficient uses of our time was when you and other people were trying so very hard to get around the profanity filter in the transcribing.
Meet the team at Soundbooth Theater.
I'm Emily Labus, your, I guess, reluctant host of the Meet the Team segment. And I am joined today by Cyn, our incredible director of operations. Cyn, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be doing it.
Cool. So just diving right in here, and this is how we like to start most of these. What is your SBT origin story? Like, in other words, how you came to work here?
I have a really cool origin story. I love it. Okay, so what happened is my brother wrote a couple books. I helped him edit those books. In the meantime, I started to dip my toes in the narration field because I love audiobooks. So I narrated some books, and then I started trying to make connections with different fellow narrators. And I was also on a mailing list to get free audiobooks. And I would put in for an audiobook, I'd get the audiobook, and then I would review it. And so I put in for this audiobook that looked interesting. I got it, and I put it on my list of when I was going to, because I did it, first come, first serve type of thing. And then a few weeks later, I found another one that looked really interesting. So I put in a request for that, and I got this email back from the narrator, who was Jeff Hayes. And he said, "Oh, hi, I see you." I'm paraphrasing totally, but it was the gist of this. "Hi, I see you requested this book. I'd be happy to give you a code for it, but I see that a few weeks ago you requested another book, but that's not been reviewed yet." And I just hadn't gotten to it. It wasn't there yet. So I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll go ahead and bump that one up and I'll review it." So I did. I bumped that top one up and I listened to it. And I think it was called, oh gosh, it was one of his, like a political thriller, The Anonymous Source.
Oh,
I think that was what it was. I can't remember the author's name now. Shoot. And I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. Anyway, so I was listening to this book, and my brother was, in the meantime, was on the hunt for someone to do an audiobook for his second book because it was shorter, so it'd be more affordable. And I'm listening to this book, The Anonymous Source, and I'm like, wow, this is like this full multicast of people. There's like this girl, there's this like a just regular dude, there's like this middle-aged black guy, and there's this other character. I was like, wow, what a multicast. Gets to the end and says narrated by Jeff Hayes. I was like, what? What? So I could hardly believe it. And I told my brother, and then in the meantime, I friended him on Facebook because we were both narrators. I told my brother, I said, "I think I found a great narrator for you. This guy, he's so amazing." So I'll let him listen to some of it. I put Jeff in contact with my brother. They worked out a deal. Jeff said, he was getting to the point in his career that he could be more picky and choosy about what he took on. But he read the first bit of Tim's book and he loved it. He wrote Tim back. He sent Tim a sample of like the first few minutes. And he said, "You had me at kindergarten piece of shit." That was like a line in the book. He said, "You had me at that." And so he did the book for Tim. In the process of him doing the book for Tim, Timothy and I both proofed the audio because, he would send the audio files and we'd proof it, and like little things like, pronunciations of some of our local areas here, Jeff wouldn't get quite right because he had no idea that's the way to pronounce things. And so he had apparently told Tim at some point that the manuscript he got was like one of the cleanest he'd ever seen. And Tim told him that I had helped him edit it, or I had edited it. And so then after the audiobook came out in November of that year, which was 2016, not long after it had come out, Jeff writes me on Facebook and he just asked me out of the blue, what would I think about doing audiobook proofing for him? And I was like, something like that never occurred to me, but heck yes, I'm interested. And so that was how I got started with Soundbooth Theater. It was just the two of us originally. And then it grew from there.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we were talking about, it came up on Justin's interview that you were, employee number 2, which is just after Jeff, which is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You've been here since day one. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then, yeah, so like we started to, we brought in Annie, Justin, Lori, and Jeff's friend Alex would do the audio, like the engineering for us. He was doing some of that. So it just kind of grew slowly but surely. And now it's so crazy to look back on it and see where where we are now, as
I
opposed to when
know.
we started out.
So
It's
true.
wild.
So you mentioned narrating, and I know, you've done a couple smaller projects for us here and there. Is that something you would want to get more into again?
Yes, I like narrating, but I'm not an actor. So
Mm.
I prefer nonfiction, but I have been doing some short stories. I'm going to probably record one in the next week or two for Tales from the Battered Mind. So yeah, it doesn't feel natural to me. So I don't have the talent that people like, Annie or Jeff or Justin have. It's just, but, you know, I'm okay, but it is fun. When I listen back to it, it's like, oh, that's me. It doesn't feel like me.
Well, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, but
Well,
okay.
I'm being realistic, Emily.
Okay. But yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the interview here, your title is Director of Operations. And in that role, you wear so many hats, a lot of which I think could be considered more behind the scenes. So could you give the audience like an idea of what exactly it is that you do for us, aside from keep the lights on and everything?
Well, I still do audiobook proofing in the middle of all that, but basically I kind of work hand in hand with Justin, and we try to make sure we keep things on schedule and on track, and we plan out release dates and who's going to do what, and coordinate when the cover art needs to be gotten, and I get the product pages all ready and stuff like that. There's just a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That
You
sounds
keep
like really simplistic, but I know there's a lot
no,
more stuff.
well, you honestly, you keep the wheels turning.
I
Like
try.
really on the operational side, which for people listening or watching, when we talk about operations, we're talking about the production side of our business as opposed to like the business side of our business.
Yeah. It's the non-glamorous background stuff. Because like the narrators, they get all this attention because they're the artist basically in front of the microphone, So, like in a movie, you have so many people, or TV show, you have so many people involved, and everything that goes along towards bringing us what we see as the end result. And, as an audience member, we're like, oh, that's so cool and glamorous and fun. But behind the scenes, it's a lot of hard work, and it's
Mhm.
not glamorous. I mean, I'm cool with it. I'm fine. I don't care. I just love the whole process. And
Yeah,
it's really cool to listen to the end result.
totally. And
Yeah.
and all of that stuff, the stuff that goes unseen is really some of the most important stuff that happens in the process.
Yeah. A lot of people, they have no clue. You see fans are like, when is so and such and such coming out? It's like, oh, whew, you have no idea how long it's going to take. It takes a bit. Because we have so
That's
many moving parts. When it was just
mm-hmm.
Jeff, things could be like that. But
Mm-hmm.
now, ooh, I remember when Jeff first started doing multicast, and I remember watching an interview he did with somebody. I couldn't tell you now who it was, but he was talking about what a pain in the ass it was to do multicast. And I was thinking, yes, it is. I wish we could go back to just Jeff and me. But only because it was just, like figuring out that whole process.
Yeah.
And, the way we record our stuff, as you know, is so different from the industry norm.
Mm-hmm.
Because we use Ableton Live, and we have people jumping in and adding their stuff. And it was just, in the beginning, it was just so chaotic and such a headache, especially like, people having trouble getting their timing, which can still be
Yeah.
an issue. But I think we definitely got the wheels turning much better than in the very, very beginning. And I think the frustration was just because my job took a bit longer to do once we started doing multicast. Oh, well, but it's so cool. When you listen to it, it's like you would think that all these actors are in the same room,
Mm-hmm.
just playing off one another.
Yeah.
And it's from the comfort of their own recording studio or closet, wherever they record from.
Soundproof closet.
Exactly. Yes.
So in all that time, what is your favorite project you've worked on for us and why?
The Feedback Loop was one of the first lit RPGs that I worked on that I actually liked. I'm not a fan of lit RPG. I know that sounds so sacrilegious to say that, but some of them have been really, really good. It's just me. It's just, my personal preference. But the feedback loop was amazing by Harmon Cooper. Loved his work. And then there was some sci-fi stuff that we did for, oh gosh, what's his name? M.R. Forbes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, those were so good. So, so good. And then the Messenger Chronicles by Pippa da Costa. Those are really good. Those are probably my favorites that I can think of off the top of my head. Some of the shorts have been fun too. The tail shorts are pretty fun. The Kringle Downs were fun. The one that I worked on, I think I worked on maybe only one or two. I can't remember, but those are fun. But yeah, that sort of stuff. That's my favorite. Oh, the Anonymous Source books. No, not the Anonymous Source. Annie did a series.
Yes, that's what I thought you were referring to.
Oh yeah, open primary. Yeah, those were fun. Those were fun. But yeah, the one that's like the first one that I worked on that I actually was super into and just really really loved would be the feedback loop.
Oh,
yeah, and I wear a thing about the feedback loop.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, and it says WWQD. What would quantum do?
I love that. And I love that you had it on for the interview too.
Perfect. And I've been thinking about taking it off. I've had it on since Vegas. I think Vegas was when I got it, when Harmon was there. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. I love it. I love swag. Huge fan. So we've talked a lot about what you do at Soundbooth, but outside of Soundbooth, and I'm not sure how many of our viewers are going to know this, but you've become a really prolific film reviewer on your YouTube channel, Cin's Corner. I'm really curious how you got into that. And then also if you could tell us like what's next for Cin's Corner.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say prolific.
I would.
I actually started my channel in late 2018 with the idea that it was going to be like a decluttering type of thing. You know how those sorts of videos. Yeah, that failed because I was too lazy. It's just like too busy, But I thought, what is it that I really like to do? I like to talk about stories, specifically movies, TV shows. So I started doing reactions to trailers for movies in July 12th, 2019 was my very first upload along those regards. And it was a reaction to a trailer for the movie The Farewell, I think. It had Awkwafina in it. It was sort of based on a true story or something. Anyway, whatever. But I wanted to talk about stories that personally appealed to me. So that's why I started the channel. And I also started adding movie reviews on, I think maybe my first one was either for It Chapter 2 or for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I can't remember. And then in 2020, the world went completely nuts and there were very, very dark times for a lot of us. And I won't get into the nitty gritty of all that. I could go on, but I needed some laughter in my life. I was just not in a good place.
Yeah.
Like most of the rest of the world.
Right.
So I started doing comedy reactions. And that was when my channel actually took off. Like I finally, flew past 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours. It was the comedy reactions. And I still do those. But my favorite thing is to talk about movies. So that's what I mostly focus on now.
What is your ultimate guilty pleasure movie and why?
Well, I'm staring at a picture of her right now. She's a sound panel on my wall. Maybe Wonder Woman 1984.
Nice.
It's not as good as the first Wonder Woman, but I still enjoy it a lot. And it still makes me cry. So maybe that one.
That's a good one. Yeah. I think because that's the key too. Like a guilty pleasure movie is one that you come back to. It's, you know what I mean? So that's a good answer. I like that. Okay. So if you weren't the director of operations at Soundbooth Theater, what would you be doing? So like, in other words, if you had a completely different career, what would it be and why?
I'd probably still be narrating my own nonfiction. I'd, probably still be doing stuff like that or selling on eBay or Amazon or whatever, like I already do as I try to declutter my house. That's probably what I'd be doing. It's amazing the things you accumulate. Like the thought of ever moving from where I am now is just daunting beyond words. Amount of things we have. So I think I'm just going to be right here for the rest of my life.
And you've been there for a long time,
Oh,
haven't you?
long
Yeah.
time. This is a place my dad built. When I was a kid, we moved around a lot when I was young. It was really hard. But then
Mm.
finally in the late 70s, we came to this area and then moved around a couple more times. And then my dad decided he was going to build a house. So he built, like, literally with his own hands. He and my mom
Wow.
both built the main house, and we moved in 84. And then in the late 80s, he started building this area, which was like an apartment, but it's a full-fledged house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so eventually that's now where my husband and I live, and our two adult children, they're still here with us. They have the upstairs, we have the downstairs.
Oh, that's so fun. It's nice
Oh,
having
and
everyone
and my
together.
daughter's boyfriend, he's here too. We have a full house.
Wow, that's fun though. And
It is.
always
It's nice.
someone there to help with stuff.
Oh yeah, it's great. Like here in the US, we definitely have this mentality. It's been ingrained to us, like get rid of your kids as soon as you can, or the kids want to leave the house as soon as they
Yeah.
can. I've always just been here. And so I like the fact that it works because my
Yeah.
mom and dad need me. I'm here for them. If I need them, they're there for me. They helped out a lot when the kids were younger. So yeah, it works out.
Well, okay, this is like another fun one.
Oh
If
boy.
you could have one not so super superpower, what would it be? And like what I mean by that is like something mundane. Like I've heard answers like I wish that I had lighter fingers so I could snap my hand, snap and produce a flame, or like I wish I
Oh,
could hover. Yeah.
okay. Well, I don't know if this would be considered mundane. I wish I could snap my fingers and the house would be clean.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a really good one. I had someone who wanted a magic floor. I asked this is like, I've never, this is the first time anyone's getting this interview question, but I do like asking strangers this question if the opportunity presents itself. And I once had someone say they wanted a magic floor where it's like you threw the clothes on it and then you came back and they were clean and folded or hung up.
Oh,
So
well,
that's like that's
that'd be
taking
cool.
this on, no, but this is taking that on steroids. Like this is way better. This
I
is
would love it.
everything.
I would love it. You have no idea.
That's a good one. I mean, I'll give it to you, but I would say that borders on a superpower.
It
Like,
does, doesn't it?
no, but it's good. I'll give it to you. It's
Oh,
fine.
gee. Yeah. Okay.
No, it counts. It
I'll
for
let
sure
you give it
counts.
to me because I can't think of another one right now.
It's a good one, though. I like that. Um, so a little bit back to work related. What would your dream project for Soundbooth Theater be?
A Jim Butcher project, or Larry Correa,
Hmm.
something like that. Something with like a huge, well, we already have some pretty well-named authors, but like someone that would be
Hmm.
stratospheric. Something like
Right.
that would be amazing. And I love Jim Butcher's work, that he does the Dresden Files.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've gone to his panels, when we've been at Dragon Con, and just kicking myself that I didn't have a doggone business card to give him last year, or one
We'll
of the
make
little tapes.
we'll make sure you have more business cards
He's
this
not
year. I'll
coming
make it.
this year.
He's not.
I don't see him on the list.
Well, where is he going? Let's go to where he. I mean, let's
I
go where he is.
right. Anyway, so yeah, something like that would
Yeah,
be fun.
that would be cool. I think, yeah, and I mean, I think like people always immediately go for Stephen King. Like, I think when people think big author, they just think about Stephen
They
King.
think about
I
that.
don't know
Yeah.
why. Yeah, but there's
It's
so many. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, he's just one of the bigger name ones, and he
Yeah.
also, a lot of his books I do enjoy. But there's like Jim Butcher, like I said, Larry Correa. I really love their stuff, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of other authors that are just amazing. Some
Yeah,
of them
it's
even
really.
better than Stephen King.
Oh yeah.
Like Robert R. McCammon is an amazing author.
I don't think I know him.
I didn't know of him until a few years ago when I first listened to one of his books. It was based on a recommendation from a Facebook friend of mine. Swan Song was the name of
Mm.
that particular book. It was post-apocalyptic. And then he's also written others. Sings the Night Bird was a really good one as well. He's comparative to Stephen King, but it feels like his books are a bit deeper than Stephen King's.
Mm.
And Stephen King's can get pretty deep though.
Oh, for sure.
So, but I was like, he just feels like he's on up there quality wise
Yeah.
with someone like Stephen King.
Well, and I don't think it gets more mainstream than Stephen King. So like out of necessity, he doesn't have he can't afford to go too deep into certain things.
Right. Yeah. But he can hit those chords. I mean, his
Yes.
book. What was the book of the one about JFK? It's about this guy
Yeah,
that goes
11
back in
22
11
63.
22
Yeah,
63.
yeah.
That book had me crying at the end. I mean, like
Really?
literally crying. And it was so funny because I had just finished the book and the book ends pretty much the same way that the show does. And that makes me cry too. And I had just finished the book and my husband asked me to come outside to help him like load something up and I'm all teary-eyed and
You're like,
crying.
no,
I'm helping him.
I can't.
I mean, I was helping him, but he was like, why are you crying? I was like, I just finished this book and it was so sad. It was so crazy. So Stephen King can certainly hit those emotional chords.
Totally.
He certainly can. Yeah.
Totally. Cool. Well, okay. If you could talk to 5 years ago, Sin, what's the one piece of advice you would give her, or the first piece of advice you would give her? Just completely switching gears.
Start my YouTube channel earlier.
Yeah.
That'd probably be one of the main ones. I can't think of anything else. I'm so unoriginal, Emily.
No, but that's a good one. I mean, and honestly, like so this is one of the questions that I like to I'll ask in these interviews because everyone's answer is always so different, but the themes are all very similar. And that's a lot of it, start earlier, work harder, or like things to like understand that you can't do everything at once. It's been really interesting. But yeah, everyone's advice for the most part has been about like getting after it, so to speak.
Sooner than you originally did. Like I'm kicking myself for not starting it years ago, but for whatever reason, I did start it years ago, but like years before then, it just never occurred to me. It never entered my brain.
Right.
And I wish it had, but oh well, it's fine. I'm happy with where I am. I've met some amazing people along the way, have formed some great friendships with them. We get together and we have like little watch parties. We do live streams together. I'll go on someone's channel. Someone will come on my channel. We're having a live stream tomorrow where we're going to be talking about 2015 movies and shows. So yeah, it's been fun to find a group of people that love to talk about the same sorts of things you do.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like I don't have that here, like my brothers and I, but they're far away. I talk about this with my son a lot because he's into movies too. But it's like my husband, he's not super interested. He's like, he'd rather watch soccer. And after almost 30 years of marriage, soccer has still not worn off. It has not rubbed off on me. I don't like soccer. So it's been fun to be able to talk about movies.
Totally.
With a bunch of like-minded people.
Yeah. And because that is so something. And like, because I mean, we'll all like, when we have our leadership meetings, like, we'll like, we all like, well, Jeff hadn't seen it yet, so we had to like hold our tongues and not talk about
shame on him.
The Spider-Verse, which is so annoying. But anyway, like we have that, but that is one of the downsides about being an all remote company. Like it's not like I can just walk into your office in the middle of the day to take a 5-minute break and talk about a movie. It's like, okay, well, we have a meeting, we have an hour, everyone had, all of the managers get 9 minutes to present their stuff. So it's like, okay, we can socialize for like a minute here, but then we gotta like.
But you want to keep talking. I want to keep talking.
Yeah. That's when we have those like 1.5, 2-hour meetings. And we're like, was this the most efficient use of our time? No. Did we have a blast? Yes.
Well, I think one of the most efficient uses of our time was when you and other people were trying so very hard to get around the profanity filter in the transcribing, the recording, the transcript thing in Teams.
Man, yeah, that was 40 minutes we're never getting back.
It was so funny.
So for the audience, we do our meetings in Teams, and especially the senior leadership meeting, we like to record because a lot of the times we'll have ideas and whatnot that we'll go back through. And one of, part of Sin's responsibilities is to sort of own all of that and do notes and stuff. So Sin figured out that you could turn on like captions in real time, and some of us, definitely me,
the more childish members of the group,
noticed quite early on, naturally, that if you said a profanity, it wouldn't write it down. It would just do asterisks. So we spent a good portion of a meeting trying to get around the profanity filter.
You did, and sometimes.
We did. Well, we realized what you had to do was if it thought it was a proper noun, and like the name of something. It will, yeah. So like Lieutenant Fuckface, like that it would do.
That was so funny.
I have no regrets.
Oh my gosh, we are a bunch of children.
Oh, but we
No,
have fun.
I'm Mama Bear. I'm Mama
You
Bear.
you are
I'm
Mama Bear.
the grown up member of the group, but not really.
Well, and I think it's fun. Again, like we need that because we don't, being a remote company, we have way less time to just be silly with each other than
Yeah,
we would if, like, oh, well, like I'm on my way to get a glass of water and I can stop in and say hi and, we can banter for
yeah,
a few minutes. Like
yeah.
we don't have that.
No.
And it's different via DM, when you're instant messaging each other on Microsoft Teams, it's like, it's
Not the,
different from just
yeah,
having a conversation for a minute or
exactly.
two. Anyway, all right. So we are wrapping up here. Last question.
Okay.
Just try not to think about it too much. Off the dome. What is your weirdest or most unexpected hobby?
I don't think I have any weird ones. Like my hobbies include reading,
Mm-hmm.
watching movies, exercising, taking walks, trying to eat decently. I'm so boring. I just don't have many strange hobbies. I'm trying to so I can't think of anything weird that interests me. Like I think it's weird to jump out of an airplane.
Yeah,
Um
no, that's super weird
that would
and
never
scary.
interest me to do anything like that either. So
Me
I don't
neither.
know. Sorry, that was a dud
No.
answer.
Well, I mean, it is not a dud answer, and I've been having a ton of fun. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Be sure to check out Sin's YouTube channel, Sin's Corner. It's awesome. Sin, thank you so much. This was so
Thank
much
you.
fun. All right, and everyone at home, thank you for
Adios.
watching.